zero involves challenges that require continuous innovation and learning. So how do we visualize the future workplace? Robots, artificial intelligence, virtual reality, which is itself is an oxymoron, and the list could go on. The era of traditional working systems, wherein the option of only full-time employment was available, has gone. Now, the alternatives for freelancing and work from home have changed the way any organization works. The gig economy has disrupted the modern workplace. Thus, the demand to find the right strategy to retain and engage employees has increased. The different existing work styles are also needed to be taken into consideration for the same. With the advent of new concepts in organizational structures, how will the future workplace look with Industry 4.0 driving the firm? And to discuss this, we have a very distinguished panel, and I would like to introduce one and all. So the moderator of this panel discussion will be Mr. Mayank Gupta. Good morning, Mr. Gupta. He is the Director Human Resources at United Health Group, Hyderabad. He has been with United Health Group for the last 7 years, and prior to this, he was associated with Dell. He is a result-oriented leader with work experience of around 16 years in human resource, training and development and operations, and he graduated from Accelerize and Sharefood and Leadership Development Program from IIM Bangalore and ISP Hyderabad. We also have with us Mr. Lakshmi Narasimha KV. I hope, sir, I pronounced it right this time. He is a General Manager at Breaks India Private Limited, Chennai, Tamil Nadu. We welcome you, sir, as a panelist.
Thank you.
We also have Mr. Sudhanshu Gupta, who is the Senior Director Talent Transformation at Entity Data New Delhi since 2017. He is a result-oriented professional with strong and proven leadership skills and comprehensive technical commercial experience, and has worked with companies like Wipro and Accenture in the past. We welcome you, sir. Mr. Maksud Sheikh, he is a Senior Manager Human Resources at Virtusa since 2014. He is an HR leader with 14 plus years of experience in the top IT and manufacturing industry, with a focus on providing HR business support in multicultural complex environments. The last panelist for the day, for this session, is Mr. Samit Patel. He is an Assistant General Manager at Siemens Limited and is currently leading heat transfer and air oil system teams at BMW Central Factory. He is passionate about creating world-class processes that deliver optimum vehicle solutions. This introduction is just a trailer of what you people will be proving in another 1.5 hours, and my audience is eagerly looking forward to hear a good panel discussion on the topic. So over to Mr. Mayank Gupta, sir, for moderating the session. Over to you. You're not audible, sir.
Am I audible now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So firstly, thank you, Dr. Nidhi, for the introductions, and thank you for providing us this opportunity to be amongst the students of GIT and the faculty members of GIT. It's absolutely a pleasure to be a part of this HR-Conclave. I think very recently, I think last week, I got to know that I need to be moderating this session, and I was wondering the reason why I was chosen as a moderator, right? So then I got to realize that as a moderator, I need to exhibit all the right behaviors and habits, right? Uh, in most of my past HR conclaves organized by multiple colleges and ICT, I've always exceeded the time and the overall duration of my spiel. And now, as a moderator, I cannot afford to do that, right? So I think that probably could be the
That's
reason
true.
why.
That's true.
so I, so I will try and ensure that I adhere to the time limits and so on and so forth, and I will request my co-panelists also to do the same. The way I am thinking we should be spending the next 1.5 hours is maybe if each one of us can take 10 minutes to share your thoughts about future of work. How are you reimagining the workplace based on the trends, and therefore what are the skills which will be required for the students to be successful in the future workplace, right? And then if once we finish this, I will, based on your spiel, ask you a few questions, and then I think last 15-20 minutes we will open it up for questions from audience. So audience, I would encourage you to please start typing your questions as you keep hearing the presenters, right? And then what I will do is aggregate those questions and ask questions to the to all the fellow panelists, right? So let me quickly begin with what I feel about the trends related to future of work. And believe me, whoever tells you today that 10 years from now, 5 years from now, this is how workplace is going to change, this is how industry is going to change, is purely bluffing. Because even some of the analysts, great analysts organizations like your Gartners of the world, Deloittes of the world, have not been able to make concrete predictions about future, right? So 5 years, 8 years is very long term. Nobody will be able to give the right predictions. So what I will be restricting myself to is the near term and middle term future, which is maybe 1 year to 3 years from now. How will the future change, especially with this pandemic, right? How things have changed and will change. And therefore, as leaders in the organizations, what are some of the things we are doing to reimagine the workplace, and hence what are the skills which will be required for the students to be successful in the new workplace, right? Uh, so first and foremost, I've been hearing this word called as new normal very, very often. Uh, in my opinion, there is nothing new about this normal. I completely disagree that it's a new normal. It is not a new normal. It has always been there. The trends which we are seeing now, like digitalization, remote working, advent of cloud adoption, and adoption of or enhancing the AI ML, all of these were there pre-COVID as well, right? So what is new about it? Nothing is new about it. What has changed, or what has gotten accelerated, or what has changed actually, is that all of these trends have gotten accelerated. Otherwise, if it would have taken digitalization to around 4 or 5 years to reach the penetration level it has reached now, I think that has gotten contracted to maybe a year or so, right? Otherwise, if remote working would have taken maybe 2 to 3 years or maybe more than that to reach the levels we are at, it took just 6 months to 1 year to reach the levels we are at, right? So what has gotten changed is that these trends have gotten accelerated, right? So there is nothing new about it. It is like that Bollywood song, right? If you remember, I think some of you, if you would have watched the Bollywood movies in 1980s and 90s, in one song the actor used to grow from a child to a adult, right? So that COVID has been, this pandemic has been that song which has accelerated some of these trends, right? So what is the choice we have? The choice is to enjoy this song, embrace this change, embrace this acceleration, and try to prepare for the future, right? So as per me, there are five very strong trends when it comes to future of work, right? The most important trend and the most obvious trend we are seeing in the last 6 months, and we will continue to see in the next 2 to 3 years, is enhancement of remote working. more and more employees working remotely, right? So I mean, one of the data point I can share is that in the US, around 20 to 25% people used to work from home perennially. They used to call it as telecommuting, right? That number has will now increase to around 48%. So around 48 to 50% people will continue to work even after pandemic, post pandemic. They will continue to work from home permanently at any given point in time. Around 48% to 50% of people will continue to work remotely. So therefore, what are the emerging trends which organizations are coming up with? What are some of the actions which organizations are taking, so or need to take? So they are looking at the skills and competency slate and redefining that, right? So earlier there was a certain slate of critical skills and competencies. Now that is going through a big shift and change. Now that the skills and competencies which are required are more tailored to achieving digital dexterity, right? Which is, how do we enhance effective remote working? How do we leverage the digital technologies to come up with best business outcomes, right? So that is one. The second one is to be able to support or enhance effective remote working. The the current and future leadership skills are being relooked at. The the the, the leadership styles are requiring to go through a sea change, right? Specifically to fit the remote working needs, right? The other thing which is happening is that organizations are creating new journeys, employee journey maps, right? So that they are able to suit the remote working or the hybrid workforce. Think about it. Now we have all kinds of workforce. We have workforce which is working permanently from home. There is a workforce which works some few days from home, few days from office, and then there is a workforce which works permanently from office. Now as leaders and as HR organization, HR function, we need to ensure that we roll out processes and policies which cater to all the three sections of workforce. So so therefore that is another important area. Then I think another important area to support the remote working is performance management. How are we going to change the evaluation methodology? How do we make the goal setting more dynamic, more through the year? How do we have frequent check-ins and more conversations rather than once in a year goal setting and once in a year evaluation, right? These are things which are changing. Another big change is recruitment, right? A lot of things has changed in recruitment, not just the virtual interview or anything, but in terms of the new skill set which is being evaluated. Am I audible to everyone?
Yes, Mike, you can
Yeah,
hear you.
Mike.
Okay, okay. Thank you. So, what has changed? The biggest change in recruitment space is that the canvas has gotten enlarged, right? Earlier, for example, if I wanted to hire an engineering leader, and my offices were in Hyderabad, Noida, Gurgaon, then I was very limited to those locations. But now with the working anywhere concept, I can now hire engineering leaders from Bangalore, Mumbai, and other locations like Chennai, etc. And even tier two, tier three talent I can tap, but let them work remotely, but still contribute, right? So these are things which are emerging and coming up to make remote working even more impactful. Another thing which is happening is the passive data collection. Organizations are increasingly collecting a lot of data related to employee. For example, what time do they log in? How many keystrokes? including what are their expressions on the calls, in the meetings, right? Uh, and this data is very, very important. This data can be used very uh, impactfully by the organizations to be able to drive outcome versus activities, right? So these are things which are happening from a remote working standpoint. The second important trend is that employees have started begun to see employers as a safety net, as a larger safety net. Their expectations have gone beyond compensation, right? Beyond experiences. So some things, some additional things which employees are expecting is from the employers is how can they be, a little more caring and helping the employees, give them that, what do you say, the the uh, the stability in their jobs and so on and so forth, plus provide them a impactful employee experience, right? Employee experience which is more flexible. It is no more work life balance. Any work life balance is a thing of past. Right now it is work life flexibility, because the lines between office hours and home hours have blurred, right? It is now office and home. I mean, I for example, I start my office at morning 9 a.m. and it goes on till 11 in the night because the laptop is on. And therefore right now it is about workforce flexibility. So if I am, I should be allowed to choose my working hours. For example, I feel comfortable working from 9 to 1, and I want to take a break from 1 to 3 because I have an activity of my child, or I need to go for grocery shopping for my adult, or for my elderly parents. Then I should be allowed to choose my working hours. So that is the kind of employee experience which also accounts family responsibilities of employees, right? The other thing which is a strong expectation from employees, from employers, is the the whole caring and well-being of employees, right? So the wellness, employee wellness has become a very, very important trend. In fact, now we have very recently carved out roles like chief wellness officer, right? And within the chief wellness officer there is a role which is chief mental health officer, right? These are the new roles which are coming up in HR as well, right? So that is another trend. And the third very, very important trend is the acceleration of contingent workers and gig economy. Now the gig economy is real, and even in countries like India it is going to be more and more rampant, right? We will have more and more contingent workers, because now the biggest need of the hour is that customers will not come to you. You will have to reach out to customers. How do you reach out to customers? You will need more workforce which is temporary in nature and is required from a seasonal standpoint. For example, today in the retail business, right, especially brick and mortar retail stores, customers are not going to be visiting these stores. So then how do I reach out to customers? I leverage platforms like WhatsApp, video calling, and other Zoom, etc., and reach out to customers, show the product to them, and then deliver the products to the customer. So I will need a temporary workforce, right, who would be available to go deliver, especially during the festival season. I will need more, right? I will not go for permanent. That is one. The other important thing is that organizations are also engaging contingent workers to reduce cost and augment staff, right? In fact, there was a research I was going through, which was conducted by Gartner, right, very recently, where they saw out of the various employers or organizations they surveyed, around 32% of employers are replacing their full-time employees with contingent workers to save cost, right? And around 12% of employers are using contingent workers to fill labor shortages due to illness and sickness, right? With all this COVID and all, more and more employees are becoming unhealthy, and to you know keep the ship floating, we need temporary workforce to fill their place. And therefore the number of contingent workers or temporary workers has increased. And hence, as organizations, we are required to create tailored upskilling plans, onboarding plans, performance management plans for the contingent workers as well, right? The next trend is humanizing work, which is bringing a little more human touch to the overall work. The biggest question, or the most pertinent question to be asked, is empathy versus productivity, right? How much should I expect from my employees? Can I be a little more empathetic, right? Especially because I have various types of workforce, right? There are few who are working remotely. I mean, I should know as a manager or as a leader, what is the reasonable expectation from employees working remotely. Similarly, working employees working on the field or from office, I should be bothered about their health and safety, right? And also, how do I fortify my culture of inclusiveness so that I'm including all sorts of employees in all my decisions, policies, processes. And the biggest and the most important one for humanizing the workspace is enhancing the emotional intelligence in leaders, right? Because earlier, when we used to work face to face, body language used to play a very critical role in determining the emotions of the other person. But now, with remote working, body language cannot be seen, it can only be heard. So, therefore, leaders need to be more emotionally intelligent to identify the emotions and needs of the employees, right? Be sensitive to their needs. So that is the next one. The last trend is, how do organizations respond to these kind of crisis will be the key differentiator of brands. Earlier, top differentiators, or differentiators for top employer brands, were the kind of infrastructure they used to provide, the kind of benefits, or you know the the kind of technologies they used to provide, and so on and so forth. Now the biggest differentiator for employer brands is, if is that if organizations are demonstrating commitment to employees, those are the organizations which will be seen as top tier employers, right? So for example, I mean, few trends I have seen in organizations is, there are, and those are things which will differentiate the men from boys, right? The top tier organizations, the other organizations, those organizations, because of the pandemic and because of the lesser economic activity, have seen reduction in economic activity, and therefore they are reducing their workforce. So how are they redeploying or outplacing their workforce, right? How are they redesigning their total rewards to support the well-being of employees? For example, in our organization, while we are supporting employees by providing the best network, ISP, data provider, and all of that, by funding all of that, sponsoring all of that every month. But more than that, we have given every employee, around 30,000 employees in India, every employee we've given 15,000 rupees as an allowance to set up ergonomic office, ergonomic chair, and so on and so forth, right? So that is going to be very important. And engaging relentlessly with employees is going to be very important. How do you continue to engage? In fact, when the pandemic started, we immediately multiplied our engagement levels with employees 10 times, right? And we were engaging with them like 2 times in a week, 3 times in a week, at a very senior leadership level. And I was a little worried that we may get a feedback that, hey, you are over engaging we are spending a lot of time with you. But to my surprise, I saw employees coming back and appreciating leaders coming, talking to them, and this has become need of the hour, right? Engaging with employees relentlessly, and those employers who will design employee friendly strategies when they are bringing employees back to office, that will differentiate. So with these trends, how are organizations reimagining the workplace? One, they are enhancing the organizational resilience. What do I mean by that? What I mean is they are shifting organization design focus from increasing efficiency to increasing resilience. Right? Earlier, the entire focus used to be how do I increase the efficiency, but now it is about how do I make organization more resilient to some of these pandemics and some of these unexpected stuff, because the pace of change is increased, right? So therefore, the skills, roles needed to do immediate course correction in situations like this. How do we design roles, structures, processes around outcomes rather than tasks, right? So that we increase the responsiveness, the flexibility, and so on and so forth. Organizations are strengthening their change management frameworks, and talent mobility has become a very, very important aspect where organizations are providing adaptive, flexible careers and movement to their employees, right? The other important thing which organizations are doing in terms of reimagining the workplace is employee experience, redefining their employee experience, right? To include the family members. So it's no more employee experience, it's become a family experience because it's a give and take. Earlier, employees used to work from your office, right? So you were responsible to provide only the employees the right experience. But now employees are operating out of their homes, and therefore their entire family needs to get the right experience. So when you design policies, processes, keep those in mind as well. And the last thing which organizations are doing is they're reimagining their overall learning and development charter, right? Because I, as an employee, now want to just learn on the go and apply and move ahead. So bite-sized learning, nano-sized learning has become a precedence, and therefore, how do I enhance my learning and development for my remote employees is the other important thing, right? So with these trends and changes, what are the skills required specifically for students who are attending this webinar? If you want to prepare yourself as employees of a workplace which is going to be a different workplace in future, then there are three important skills which you need to be imbibing in yourself. One is the emotional resilience, right? Because there are going to be there is going to be a lot of chaos, there is going to be a lot of changes, and you need to be very, very comfortable with all these changes. You need to be resilient to all of these changes. So therefore, build that peace with all these changes. Don't question the pace of changes. In fact, make peace with these, adapt, embrace the pace of these changes, right? The second important thing is comfort with ambiguity. Everything will be ambiguous. Nobody even knew when the pandemic started how will we bring thousands of people from office to home. It was a very ambiguous situation, but it all happened, right? So build comfort with ambiguity. If things are not clear, then you are in the safe space, and that is going to be the normal. That is going to be the mainstream, right? Things will not be clear, things will not be black and white, it will all be gray. So build that comfort with ambiguity. And the last but very, very important skill is lifetime commitment to learning. You have seen how roles are changing, how skills and competencies are changing. In fact, in one of the HBR review which I was reading few months ago, I saw 35% of the roles which are existing today, after 4 5 years, will not even exist. There will be new roles. So you will need to unlearn and relearn, right? Reskill yourself. So keep learning. build that habit of learning, and you will need to learn lifelong. So if somebody says that after your college you don't need to spend time in learning, sorry, that's not going to be the future. The future is going to be continuous learning, and it's easy said than done. You have to do a lot of things to build this habit. In fact, I remember very early in my life, when I was a child, my grandfather used to tell me how I can build this lifelong learning habit, right? He used to tell me that you will be a lifelong student, and there are five important characteristics of a lifelong student, right? Kaka chesta, bako dhyanam, shwana nidra, alpaharam, grahatyagi, panchalakshanam vidyarthi. What he meant was kaka chesta, effort of crow, hard work, there is no substitute. Bako Dhyanam, focus of crane, right? Be very, very focused. Be here now. If you're attending this webinar, don't think about anything else, right? Shwana Nidra, alertness of dog. Alertness of dog is that there is so much of change. So keep scanning the environment. So by attending this webinar, you're scanning the environment. You're understanding what is changing so that you can change yourself. You can upskill yourself accordingly, right? Alpaharam. When I say alpaharam, I don't mean that eat less, but what I mean is there are so many distractions. So you can't consume all the distraction. Now you have earlier you used to have Oxford University, Usmania University, and this university and that university. Now you have Facebook University, WhatsApp University. There is so much of unnecessary information. So what you want to consume is going to be very important. So filter those distractions. Grahatyagi. Grahatyagi means don't leave the home, but leave the comfort zone. The moment you start feeling that, yes, I'm able to do this job very easily, leave that and try for something better. That is how you'll be able to learn lifelong, right? So with this, I would want to thank the organizers again, and would want to pass it on to my fellow panelists. But the last thought I would want to leave with everyone is be very, very kind to people around you, to your employees, to your parents, to your neighbors, because I think kindness is going to be the virtue which will sail all of us through out of this storm, right? So thank you very much, everyone. I would now invite Mr. Sudhanshu to maybe talk and share his thoughts about the future of work, and how they are reimagining the workplace. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. And I think that was a very invigorating talk that you talked about, and how future of work is changing, how organizations are modifying their processes, policies, and procedures to give comfort to people, to be kind to their employees, and what the future employees should be doing. So, to start with, I will give you some snippets which I gathered from Economic Times in this week. So there are a lot of organizations which are working to the new defined environment that COVID has given. So COVID has been accelerator for almost everyone who's there in IT or even non-IT. So for like Excite Life Insurance. So what they did, they moved their the the way they were doing application from desktops, paperwork to mobile, and that reduced 95% of their turnaround time. Same way, Bajaj Allianz, they also did the same thing. They moved it. Bank of Baroda, they are thinking that most of their branch workers will be split between working from home versus branch, the people who are there in branch. So you see, with COVID, whatever IT industries were trying to do, it's not even remained to IT industry. It has gone way beyond. Construction companies. So any industry you take, all of them are, though everyone got disturbed by COVID, but each organization, each industry, they are trying to take some or other benefit of the new parlance, the new definitions that COVID has thrown us. Now, with this, what all has changed? It's not only that organizations, the way they were working has changed, it's also the way organizations were taking people, organizations were recruiting people, all that have also changed. So earlier, the roles, they were very usual, business analysts, coders, and team leads and managers, etc. But now all those things are going to change. 15 years back, we never thought that there is a role which will be called as data scientist. Now, data scientist is one of the highest paying roles in IT industry. Not only IT industry, even for the other industries where which are not even touched by IT, they are trying to take benefit of IT. So, for example, automation. So, some time back we talked about automation. Now it's intelligent automation or hyper automation. And it's not only IT which is going to use automation, it is all other industries. These are the exponential capabilities of technology, which are going to use all these automations, AI, machine learning. So, for example, we all of us have heard about CRISPR, which is the new way of how you detect any of the anomalies in your body, how you try to treat cancer, how you try to, and CRISPR is being used to come out very quickly for vaccine for COVID also. So what is it? What is CRISPR? So it's combination of cell biology, genetics, chemistry, and you throw in few supercomputers and some biologists who know artificial intelligence. So with all this, they are trying to do all the permutation combinations to see if they can come out with the vaccine much faster than what Donald Trump is saying. And even not only vaccines, self-driving cars. What are those? So these are radars, there are vision computing, this is simple computing, and then motorized vehicle which is running on four wheels and is gathering the environmental factors, the information which is throwing in and out. So you see, automation, all these new technologies, they are not only limited to IT, they are going beyond IT. So whether you are looking for your future job in information technology or an IT company like IBM, Microsoft, etc., chances are wherever you go, all these technologies, all these new technologies are going to touch you, and you will not be remaining untouched by them. And as I said, healthcare, retail, customer service, media, technology, all of them are getting touched. All of them are changing their recruitment landscape. So earlier, a healthcare worker has he been a simple healthcare worker? Yes, wonderful. But now, if he knows little about data, how to compile data, how to churn data, and give a meaningful information, it is a given. It is much more beneficial. Some of the industries which are not going to take those benefits very clearly could be there, but ultimately the technologies like hyper automation, blockchain, autonomous objects, etc., are going to break the ice. Are going to be your go-to technologies which you can use in any of these technologies. And the with the workplace definitions going very wild and fluid. So earlier, all of us used to spend 2 hours in the morning in traffic, reach office, had tea, had gossips. In between, we worked on some of the Excels, PPTs, and little bit of coding. And then again, another 2 hours of drive and back home. But now with your your workplace being your one of the room, your house, everything is going to change. Everything is changing. And not only once you get into the work, even before you get recruited, even before you are, even the recruitment process, that has also changed. So earlier, I remember when I was changing tracks from one company to the current company. So I was called for an interview with HR head, and I drove about 1.5 hours, about 50 kilometers, and went there. And the gentleman flew from Bangalore to Noida, and we had an interview. And at the end, I said that probably we could have done this over a video. He said, "Yeah, but that's the policy." But now, recruitment has totally gone online. So, or the talent acquisition folks, the recruiters, they are not expecting anyone to knock on their door and say, "Sir or Madam, may I come in and should I take the seat and let's go with the interview?" Everything is online. You just log into some platform like what we are talking right now, and you go to the interview. And with everything being online, there are few nuances to it. So, for example, when you were walking into the office for a recruiter for the interview, you could take advantage of your full body language. But with COVID, when everything is online and you are talking to someone through a camera, it's just the half body, the upper torso that you can take benefit. So there are nuances, and when I'm talking about that, the nuances when you are talking to someone through video. So uh, when anyone speaks to you through video, tries to take interview, the impression that you create on them, that becomes very, very important. And in for recruiters, it's a 6-second thumb rule. 6-second thumb rule, which means within first 6 seconds, you make an impression whether you are going to be recruited, you are going to be working for that organization or not. So mind it, when you are going for an interview, just ensure that you are, at least you are looking best. Whether you have taken baths or not, that's a different thing. But at least you appear one of your best pictures that you can even paint in your mind. And once you get recruited, the onboarding is again remote. So all the new lateral recruits that we are seeing in our company, they have not been to office. They have not met anyone physically. Everything is online. They are getting all the information which is shared with them through videos, through portals, and they complete all their trainings via online methods, and they don't get into anything which is required for them to be physically present. Now, all of us understand, and Mayank also said that the workplace is going to be totally different from what it is currently. But there are certain skills that are required for any one of us to uh, to build on. And when I say skills, so these are your mental skills, your personal branding, and your competence. When I say mental skills, it's your how do you uh, so you could be very great physically, but what happens when on the day of interview or whenever you have a call scheduled, all of a sudden you realize that you have a talk, right? So make sure that you are very much healthy, and purnat purnam uddichet. So what it means is anyone who is whole, only whole can produce a whole. If you are not perfect, you cannot be delivering something which you yourself or anyone else can call perfect. So ensure that you are in perfect health, mentally as well as physically. Your so I just remembered the this Korean pop band, the BTS band. So I was going through one of their interviews, and this guy RM, who is the lead singer for that band, he was saying that first rule in our band is to love yourself. First rule in a band is to love yourself, and what it means is you have to be very much selfish about your health, whether it's physical health or mental health. Be selfish about it, and anyone who are your near ones, dear ones, friends, families, if you are being selfish about your health, no one is going to question. Probably, if you say that I'll eat this whole tub of ice cream on my own, you might have fight with your siblings or your mother or your father. If he's like me, they will feel bad. But if when it comes to health, I am very much sure none of them is going to ask a question that why are you going for a walk 6 a.m. in the morning, and why are you meditating just to ensure that you are in perfect mental health. And organizations are also giving enough perks, times, and leeways to be in perfect health. So ensure that you are using this time to be in perfect health, mentally as well as physically. The next one, which is very important skills or maybe trait that you can carry, and that too, it becomes even more important when you are remote, when you are not talking to anyone, any of your friends physically. When you are not present in front of anyone physically. The very important trait is your personal branding. When I say personal branding, it is your recall factor. So I have spent, let's say, 20 minutes in front of you, and so has Mayank, and so has other panelists. What is that one particular thing that you will remind you? Yet, yes, this was said by XYZ. This was said by PQR. These are the some things which they said and which we could feel that it has really made a difference for us. And what are these personal branding? These are your recall factors. So let's say you have gone for an interview, and you got up and just sat in front of your camera, and you have started your interview. So yes, that's your recall factor, but not in the positive sense. So probably if you have made sure that the interview is a formal event and you have come well prepared and you have all your documents in front of you, and whenever anyone the interview he's asking, you are giving all your answers correctly, and you have done some background check for the organization, how the organization is working, what are their future plans, and what is the new narrative they are talking about during COVID, and you ask some relevant questions. That becomes something which is your recall factor, and or the interviewer who will think, yes, this person, he was quite interested in what we are talking about and what we are interested in, and probably he could be one of the best fits what we are looking for. So health, your personal, the mental as well as physical health, your quotients, your physical quotient, intelligence quotient, emotional quotient, and social quotient, and your personal brand, your recall factor. These are the two important things which are in your own control. No one else is going to help you. Apart from the few other skills or few other competencies, which are for which probably you might some help, like your technical competencies, your business competencies, your process knowledge. But these three things, I'm very much sure with your college education, I'm very much sure everyone talks about employability, and your professors, your teachers are making all efforts to make you employable. The one skill which is hardest to come by is soft skills. So when we talk about soft skills, so people say, yes, I can talk, but soft skills are something which are very, very, very difficult. So when I say very, very, very difficult, please mind it, it is really difficult. In last 28 years of my career, I have seen people struggling to convey simple sentences, and meanings get changed by single words. So there's this lady, Susie Carson, who happens to be Egyptian philosopher, though now she is based out of America. She said that one single word can change the whole meaning. And the way you use that word, whether it's positive or negative, it might open doors for heaven for you, or maybe for the other side of heaven. So ensure that these soft skills are very much important. So soft skills are multiple: your time management, your communication, the judgment that you make about other people, your biases, your attitude. All those things come as part of soft skills. Practice them, and if you feel that you need some kind of help and you're not getting help, you just leave aside your ego and ask some of your friends or maybe some of your family members, and just to talk about what do you call how to like, for example, you can just go to your brother or sister, whether you fought with them yesterday, but again you can go back and ask them that what are the things that you feel that I should change, right? Ahamkaram hi manushyanam purvanshli maharibu. That means ego is the biggest enemy that you may have, right? So leave aside your ego. Talk to your friends, talk to your families, talk to your co-workers, and ask them that, do you see anything that I can improve upon? Ask for feedback. Ask for feedback multiple times. If you have asked for feedback, let's say from your friend today, maybe after 1 week, you ask the feedback again. And who knows, you might get some 5 or 6 pointers for you to improve upon. Right? So apart from this, there are technical skills. I'm very much sure you guys are much more conversant with the technologies than at least I am. I'm not very much sure about other panelists, but at least the way technology is changing. So just for example, so my elder one and myself, both of us are cloud certified, AWS certified. The age difference is almost 30 years, but the time he came out of his engineering college, he was certified and I was getting certified. But now at least I can proudly say that I am as certified as he is, though I have some other certification which is not gotten. At least cloud, which is the in thing now, which is required right now, is something which I can proudly say, yes, I am. So technical skills, I am saying you guys are masters. You guys know what you need to do. We ensure that all the new skills that AI, cloud, blockchain, automation, you are conversant with them. Irrespective of domain, which domain you go for, these technologies will help you. And if you have some specific lineage to certain domains, so for example, some of you might be science graduates, some of you might be engineering graduates, but inherently you might feel that if I start working for a construction company, or if I start for working for a banking and finance organization, I might be doing better. So apart from your technical domain, apart from your soft skills, if you can gather some knowledge, if you can arrange, if you can hone your skills on those particular domains, that is something which is going to help you a lot. So I think the just to summarize what I said, that the hiring, the workforce and workplace, all these three are changing. Your work is changing. Workplace is now, it cannot be defined what is your workplace, whether it was work-life balance or work-life blending. You're not very much sure. None of us are, though we are in HR, but even we are not very much sure that how the work-life balance. It's not work-life balance now. It's actually work-life blending. So you don't even know when your work ends and when your life starts, and your life ends and your work starts. So the way you were working earlier, it has totally changed. So workplace has changed, the work has changed. You are the workforce, and you have to ensure that you spend enough efforts in getting yourself being employable. And when I say employable, it's not only that you should get a job. Rather, if there's something that you can do which creates, which generates, which nurtures new jobs, just go for it. So the effort, the kind of work, the kind of the efforts and work that you put in, there is no replacement for it. So just like I remember there was a Sanskrit shlok which used to say that Sharmain labhai sakalam na Sharmain bani kavanti. And what it means that there is no replacement of hard work, and a lion cannot eat. The deer will not go to lion's mouth on its own. The lion also has to run behind the deer to get him. So effort, the kind of work you do, the kind of skills you carry, how you project yourself are the key mantras that I want to give you. And that's all at this point of time. Mayank, over back to you.
Thank you, Sudhanshu, and very pertinent points. Whether it is the digitalization across the board, not just limited to IT industry, but also the emergence of new roles like data scientists, automation, and the changes in recruitment, the skills required, and I really like the fact that you've focused on the softer skills, because I think those are the skills which are going to be making you successful and keeping you employable lifelong. And that should be the objective, not the immediate term, right? So thank you for all those thoughts. I would now like to invite Mr. Lakshmi Narayan, Mr. Lakshmi Narsimhan. I think both Sudhanshu and I are from the ITES background, but Mr. Lakshmi Narsimhan will bring that different flavor of manufacturing, industry. How are things changing there? How are they reimagining the workplace, and therefore, what are the skills required? Mr. Lakshminarayanan, over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayank. Thank you, Sudhanshu. It was a wonderful day of experience, learning from both of you. A lot of thoughts has been gone into me. As rightly said, the engineering industry has gone into a different field, even though IT industries have taken up the digital space a decade or 2 decades ago in terms of the virtual. From manufacturing industry, the pandemic is quite a challenging one. and the requirements have changed a great extent. To be very honest, even my own self will tell that being a manufacturing industry person, not that conversant with handling the digital platform, the virtual meetings. We were knowing it, it all came into our system, but we were not sure of how to deal with it. The initial phase of the pandemic has really made us to hone and learn some new skills. So the manufacturing industry today going under, that's rightly started by you, with the new norms. The new norms is nothing but maintaining the social distancing at work. Mask and sanitation, we can do it, but being an engineering industry where you have the assemblies, where you have the robots, still the human is the much more important person, where they need to stand next to you in a space of 50 centimeter and work, where you have to have a 2 feet distance, and then doing it's a bigger challenge. So what it looks from an engineering graduate perspective or the future engineers perspective, they need to look at these certain competencies which will help even a manufacturing industry to do a better job in terms of this pandemic situation, to overcome the challenges. Very, very important. When we started in the month of March and April and May, almost a month or so, we went spending all our time only how to, we can isolate the people so that we will able to have a certain space for working. So a lot of frugal innovation. I don't want to make much point, whatever you covered. From an engineering perspective, the innovation, whatever you do, it should be frugal, simple, cost effective. So you need to think, as rightly from the Rajasthan and northern part of this country, definitely I could find a lot of engineers, a lot of thoughts from illiterates who make a lot of new innovations which has come in the last 6-7 months. Moving forward, the three which areas which is going to be playing a major in terms of the future of worker. One is the resilience and empathy. That is, even if somebody wants to adapt and progress, especially in a shifting environment, you need to be loyal to your core values. Like a bamboo tree, you want to be the agile businesses, you need to have the essential values and bend with the strongest wind and never break, like a bamboo. So you need to have this. This is only a pandemic for a short term. So how to community able to manage the stress? You need to bounce back. So this resilience and empathy, which is normally missing from the students. Even sometimes we know that when the moment you have your internet get connected or disconnected, you are restless. So you need to have this first and foremost. What I look at. The second one is, as many of the people have been talking about, that the digital dexterity. In the era of digital experimentation, everything is in terms of digital initiatives. Even a company like us, where we are all more into analytical and other thing, today we are trying to move everything into a digital platform. We are looking at more in terms of app. We want to go for the digital manufacturing. So the shift is quite fast and rapid in terms of a blue collar into a software person. So thinking digital is no longer only an efficiency. It is about enabling innovation. The third one, which I was also already discussed about that in terms of the frugal innovation. The other fourth one I call that is a very important, which is frugal mindset, and beyond that is nothing but the cognitive flexibility. That is, you need to have the flexibility in terms of divergent perspectives. You are exercising the intuition in a manufacturing industry in an appropriate measure. You need to understand the weak signals and conduct the mental rehearsal for unimaginable outcomes. Nobody would have imagined certain things. Even I just want to share some of my experience being in a forum of this, where we are finding it difficult to bring back the workforce, we have to give them the confidence. So it is very, very important. You need to have the flexibility and be able to make things effectively to adapt to a variety of situations and identify. So as rightly said by Mr. Mayank and Sudhanshu, I call these three areas, that is the functional competencies, the fundamental competencies, and the behavioral competencies. They all touched on the software skills. Soft skills very important. As rightly said, every day things are getting changed. The communication skill, what I thought was better yesterday is no more better today. The platform is getting more and more. The challenges are getting more and more. The yard is getting on the increase every day. So this should be on a continuous focus as a student or as a faculty or anything. We cannot say that whatever I learned yesterday is enough for me. The learning is much, much more. As rightly said by Mayank also, what we find the jobs which is going to be for 20, 25 or 2030, we cannot predict. Nobody would have imagined. So things are getting changed in a rapid pace. So you need to hone your functional and fundamental. Fundamental being an engineer, if you are a core engineer, mechanical engineer, you need to be strong in your skills on that. The new norms, which is the part of the industry 4.0, the AIs, the robotics, the cyber attacks, all the AR and VR, all these are getting much and much bigger sense in an engineering industry. So you look at how these can, all this new knowledge can be learned by you with the available Google platform. Today, everything is there available in your fingertip. The moment you open your computer or a mobile, you can get all the details. How could you be able to gain this knowledge, adapt yourself to this new knowledge, and try using on that? The second point I also want to talk about the functional competencies. Look at it from an engineering perspective. Engineering perspective, today look forward a mechanical engineer to be not only a mechanical engineer, it also look forward from him to be a multi-dimensional engineer. So you cannot say that I am only a core mechanical specialist. You need to also have the knowledge of the computers. You need to also have the knowledge of electronics and communication. So all these are inbuilt. With the more and more focus is shifting in terms of the industry 4.0 or the next level of manufacturing. So you need to see that the new skills and competencies are acquired at the rapid pace. You have got all the facilities, you have got certification courses. And the third part, this is nothing but the soft skills. I always use this to say that the RAT competencies, in terms of successful, somebody has to be in your professional career, leadership position, or any position to be successful. You need to hone your RAT skills or RAT competencies. That's nothing but the relation skills. How good you are able to build a strong networking, build a collaborative skills, and able to align with the people, how good you are able to manage the people. This pandemic has created a lot of opportunities for us in terms of understanding our own people, own self, and somebody is COVID positive, how to give them the emotional bonding, emotional connect, same thing that is important. So the relation skills are the first one which is making it. The second thing, you cannot be an engineer that I will only do things on that. I just want to share an incident here. Some of the students from a nearby colleges asked me to get me an internship. So I said I will provide. And I also told them that you need to have the on-the-job internship. So the people asked me, sir, whether it's going to be an internship where we will be observing or we'll be working. I said, if you are a person who want to be an engineer, you cannot be an observer. You need to have hands-on experience. You need to have to work on your own to understand the nuances and difficulty of a manufacturing. Then only you will be able to think and innovate something new. That is what you have been appointed. So you need to hone your action competencies, where you need to plan well, you need to set your goals, you need to see that you are able to execute things to the excellent part. That's I call it as execution excellent. That's the superior one. Nobody has produced. And you also need to have the innovative, the creative mindset, the analytical thinking. These are all part of the action part, which individual can on by working on it continuously. The third part is the thinking skills. The T is nothing but thinking. As the thinking is going in a different dimension today, you have got the collaborative thinking, critical thinking, analytical thinking, strategic thinking, the business acumen. You need to understand the businesses which we thought will succeed are not succeeding. Some of the businesses which were nowhere today, being in the entire shift in the cycle of the business. So you need to understand what is happening around you, work on it. You can be a successful engineer or a technocrat. You can be a successful manager. I always say that it is nothing but the skills which is required first to manage self. Once you are able to manage self, you need to start managing others. For managing self, you need to have all these skills. Then you start managing others. Once you start managing others, you can be a leader to others. With this, there are a few thoughts. I would like to expect some questions. Thank you, Mayak and Sudhanshu, and thanks ICT Academy for the invitation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lakshman Narasimhan. Thank you. That was very diverse thought process, specifically to the manufacturing setup, right? Especially, I like the way you articulated the frugal innovation piece and the RAT competency, right? Plus, specifically in the RAT, the action component, which is very important from a manufacturing standpoint, right? Thank you for those thoughts. Mr. Samit, I would like to invite you now to share your thoughts, because you are a good blend of both IT and the manufacturing. You are into aerospace and multiple other dimensions. Scientists in different dimensions. So I think it'll be interesting to hear from you. Samit, we are not able to hear you. I think you're on mute.
Yeah. Is it audible now?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Yeah. Thanks, Mayank. I was sharing that it's always fun to hear to you. And always, every time I hear, I take away something back. And today, the Kaka Chesta, the 5 qualities of Vidyarthi, I think that was a masterpiece because if I keep reflecting on it, I think there is nothing beyond those 5 that somebody in this audience would need to take away from this call today, because that encompasses everything a student would want to take away, right?
Thanks a lot.
And it's always tough to speak after 3 experts have spoken. But I'll try to. I was trying all the way to see how I will rejig what I will have to talk, because it's not easy, because the thoughts are going to be, some of them are going to be very similar. But I was just trying to recast and try to see if I can bring a little bit of different perspective than what already my 3 senior expert colleagues have spoken, right? So one thing very interesting, and which I am proud of, is we're all at the doorstep, or we have been experiencing the 4th revolution, industrial, digital, whatever you want to call it as 4th revolution. And very lucky, at least I am sure that maybe with minimal changes and minimal learning, we will pass through this and retire. But all of you have a tough task ahead, folks. So, and something that all 3 panelists talked about, learnability, learning for life, is going to stay with you. That's one very important thing that you all have to take, right? When you come to future of work, right? If you split it into 3 pieces, one is the work itself, one is the workforce, that is you all, and one is the workplace, that is the organizations or things, right? Everywhere in all these 3 aspects, things are changing today, right? Why does work change? Work change because there is so much of technology breakthroughs, be it in genetics, be it in manufacturing, that's 3D printing, be it in the way you consume today things. Artificial intelligence is almost on everybody's hand today, right? You keep on seeing your preferences, you keep on getting your recommendations, and then there is be it the nanotechnology making things smaller, and so on and so forth. Each one of them are amplifying everything, right? That means each of the innovation and breakthrough in any field is amplifying the other one in a big way. So for example, what we have been already experiencing is, if an aircraft takes off from Hyderabad and lands in, say, Jaipur, there is terabytes of information that is being captured today, which otherwise was not being captured, right? But why are we capturing this data, and how we'll put it to use will become an important piece. And those problems, be it with efficiency, be it with safety, are not yet solved, right? So there's going to be work all through. Work is going to be continuously available. It's only going to be different from what somebody does today. And if I have to use a crude example, if I have to take a tailor in the 80s, or almost all my schooling, I have had to go to the tailor and stand in front of him and give measurements, and he stitches a beautiful shirt, and there's a best tailor in the town and all that, right? But with advent of all this automation, and somebody came up with mass manufacturing of shirts, right? The tailor's job did go, but many other jobs, the people who are there in the factory, monitoring quality, still seeing and checking whether each of the buttonhole is there, the thread count is right, the packaging, and then there is Amazon as a platform, or a Flipkart as a platform. Then there's a delivery boy. There are many other roles that came into picture, right? This is a very crude example. I just wanted to take a simple example, because anything I talk about technology is going to be, some of you are going to absorb and not, maybe not, right? And not because you are not capable, but because I may not be able to simplify. So what I mean to say is, the nature of jobs are going to change because of what's happening around. What it also means is, some of the jobs are going to get completely, especially wherever there is a repeated task which can be automated today. The office work, lot of office work, you have seen your parents are now using bank apps probably, right? They are paying bill through your phone, right? Earlier what they used to do, they used to go stand line, there used to be another set of machinery, lot of accounting, manual accounting, and all those jobs will keep on going. But are there no jobs today? There are more and more jobs available, right? So there are going to be new type of jobs that are going to keep coming. And what I understand, whatever report you read, for every job that is going to be redundant, there are going to be 1.6 to 1.8 new jobs that are going to be available. And that's the nature of change of work that's happening, right? So if I have to now say, if nature of change of work is changing, and because of which jobs are either getting displaced or new jobs are getting created, and for some of us who are in HR, we will keep a little bit upskilling. So there are going to be jobs where a little bit of upskilling, and you will keep on. So some of the jobs are going to remain with some normal additions, right? So these are three categories in which jobs will exist. For most of you, though, you may fall in reinventing yourself every decade, and you may be doing something completely different when you are retiring compared to when you started to work. So again, that is why learning would become an important message all through, right? That's something that, irrespective of what's changing at work, one thing that you would have to embark on is a learning journey. Learning journey. Now, also important here when I talk about work, so isn't it same for everyone, right? If you are in GIT, or you are sitting in Osmania University, Hyderabad, or everybody is facing the same challenges, right? So everybody, the whole academic system has been responding the same way. And today, almost everybody is having, it's not like the earlier days when some of the villages would have a slower rate of new things coming in, and access to technology and other technology has made us all equal. That's the best part of technology, right? Everybody is equal today. If I can access an MIT course, you can also access an MIT course, and anybody for that matter can learn from the best of the professors today, right? So what I'm trying to communicate here is that with the new jobs coming in, and at any point of time, if you take if you are taking a differential of your skills to differential of time, right? D skills upon DT, if you put, and you look at mapping it, right, you will always find that for new skills, companies are going to struggle. Mayank is going to struggle to recruit, Science is going to struggle to recruit, Sudhanshu is going to struggle to recruit, like Lakshmi Narasimham sir is also going to struggle to recruit, because we always have a challenge having people with new skills coming in. Many a times we as organizations, we try our best to upskill the internal pool because that's cheaper to do, but we cannot do alone with that. We have to keep hiring. So even in today's market, with all the COVID related, if you look at the number of job requisitions in our systems that are open for newer technologies, it's still the recruitment teams are not managing. This is called something called as a skill instability, right? So at any point of time, the skill instability is going to exist. That means the newer skills will always have gap, and you will have to keep on reinventing yourself to catch on that curve and make, and the best part is what is there for you, right? Best part is, you know that there is going to be skill instability, and you have to take advantage of that skill instability. Again, when you say you have to take advantage of that skill instability, means you need to be, again, what Mayank earlier mentioned, be very focused. There is going to be a lot of discussion around human and computer automation, and that loss of job versus this, but those are not going to affect you any which way. Okay, what's going to happen is going to happen, right? Given what's not going to happen for you if you keep on being buried between the debates that go on in your TV channels or in your web pages, is that you are losing focus. So your focus has to be what you want to get from life. So focus is important and fast. That means you have to learn quickly and grab on the new opportunity. So I don't think if you are learning, if you are focused and you are fast enough to make those changes, you are going to be employed all through your life. You are going to have an exciting journey of doing very, very different things. Today, life is not about specialists, very, very clearly. It is about deep generalists. That means I would have to know, I am a manufacturing engineer, but I would have to know what AI is, how it applies, what problems of mine I can solve through AI, what how will I use sensors, what is IoT. So it's all about interdisciplinary understanding and grabbing on those opportunities. So don't limit yourself to ideas of I'm a mechanical engineer and this is my area, right? There's nothing like that. There's a problem on the world that is being solved. You be part of it or be away from it. These are the only two things that you have. There's a problem being solved. So when I say problem being solved today also, do you think the supply chain problems are sorted? No. Sustainable planet, sustainable earth will become a much more, because with so much of technology, probably tomorrow we may be able to, whatever carbon dioxide is produced, we will be able to grab it and store it in some way and use it. We will keep on improvising the batteries that are existing, right? So problems are not ending for any one of us, right? Even though our life is much better with washing machines, with TVs, and no bill queue and all that, we still crib the most. Probably if you look at your parents, they hardly complain, but if I go home, I have 10 complaints to talk every day, right? So complaints are increasing. That means problems in world are there and those will keep getting solved. So I will not take much time because there is also going to be some question answer session. So important message that I wanted to reiterate what my expert panelists have already spoken is awareness to what's happening. Learning. Don't leave learning. Third is focus and be very swift, right? These will allow you to battle the work related challenges. I didn't touch upon the workforce and the workplace. Those have been very well articulated by my colleagues. There's gig economy, there is flexible work. We have been hiring somebody working from Indore, ready to work for 5 hours a day, but we need that expertise. We have been doing that kind of stuff. So things on hiring have been changing. So I would not touch upon the workforce related and the workplace related changes, how future would look, because those probably have been touched quite intensely by my fellow panelists. So Mayank, over to you. That's my initial part of thoughts that I wanted to share.
Thank you, Samit. Thank you very much. I think there is a reason why you are brought in last, right? Because you, in spite of so much of topics getting covered, you bring in a completely different perspective. What I love about your talks, Samit, is one, of course, the diverse thought process and how you simplify things and present it. But most importantly, I think the positive energy which you leave with us, right? So the fact that for every job which is getting redundant, around 2 jobs, 1.6 to 1.8 jobs getting added, is such a refreshing and confident statement for students and for every one of us not to get panicked with all the changes and stuff like that. So thank you very much. Looks like ours is a mutual admiration club, right?
Absolutely, Mayank. I love hearing to you.
Yeah. So with that, I would now start with my questions. I don't know if Maksud was able to join. Dr. Nidhi, would you be able to confirm?
He won't be joining. He had a couple of issues and he won't be able to.
Okay. Okay, so let me start with few of my questions. While I would be maybe directing these questions to some of you, but others, please feel free to chime in and add your inputs and thoughts. So my first question is to Samit, right? Samit, here is how I'm compensating by asking you the first question because we've invited you the last, right? As per you, is remote work going to be a lasting change? And will it not impact productivity negatively? What are your thoughts here?
So, Mayank, before I give my opinion and understanding, because there's a very important tidbit or a survey that happened, right?
Mhm.
We did a survey, and we asked earlier, there was a lot of pressure, and we were actually trying to put a policy together for work from home. But for our type of industry where we are so well integrated with customers, approvals for work from home is not a very easy thing, right? There was a huge battle that most of the, I mean, if earlier you would have made a survey, I would say 60 to 70% of the people would want to work from home, right? And you took a survey in June, and what do you see? I mean, 60 to 70%
Yeah,
has changed to
that's so
30%.
true, Ramesh.
That means, that means people want to come back. They're missing their friends, their peers. They're missing that water hole discussion, definitely, right? The social needs are not getting met. Also, the managing of work, as you rightly said, it's no more work-life balance, but it's blended, and you need to now manage priorities of both. So work from home, with the benefits that you have already articulated. One is I can hire an expert today in America for a job that I need, or anywhere else in, because the technology is enabling us and allow us to work. So that is one very great value proposition. Second is, will this allow me to keep my costs in control, because now I can work from second rung cities, third rung towns, and so on. So I think work from home is here to stay.
Mhm.
Not necessarily in absolute sense, because there is going to be work where you need machines that have capability which cannot be otherwise duplicated at home. But all those places where we don't have that kind of a computing and infrastructure heavy requirements, I think work from home is going to stay. Also, companies, and especially, I mean, I see a lot of debate going on the economics. We have already probably been thinking of exiting from certain SEGs and reduce our rent burden and all that, right? So there is a very, very strong value proposition economically, as well as the way we can hire talent and the way we can manage our work efficiently. So work from home is here to stay. On the two questions, there is no enough data that I have from my experience perspective, and I can only quote how things are happening outside. So I will limit to what my concerns are today. The two concerns that I see is what you talked about, the chief mental health officer. So I think we don't know how our employees will keep coping up with this kind of a stress, because productivity requirement today, the measurement is not on how many hours you are on the seat, but it is about what you delivered. That's becoming sharper and sharper. Earlier, managers were very happy seeing somebody sitting on a seat for 8 and or till he goes. If I am there, he or she goes, I am there, then he or she is very happy, right? But I think that definition is changing, and good for everyone, right? I mean, you don't have your boss coming every 15 minutes and asking kya hua, what's happening, right? So that is an advantage. But I think the way we are measuring productivity today, and how it is going to impact the social needs being not met, the work delivery being measured more rigorously, what will happen to our associates' health, I have very little data. As you said, we are only extending and expanding our activities of Connect, but very limited data to make any comments there, Mayank.
Sure, sure, sure. Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you, Samit. I think that was a great answer. The only thing I would like to add is that, as you rightly said, we right now don't have any significant trends where we can talk about how
Absolutely.
the remote working is impacting productivity. But I'm very confident that we've always managed to make it work, right? So I'm very confident that we will with the advent of technology and with the tools, for example, tools like Microsoft Teams and other tools which actually enhance collaboration, I'm very, very confident that it will impact, productivity positively, right? And while I ask my next question to other panelists, I would also request the participants, the audience, to start typing their questions, which I can ask to the panelists, right? So my next question is to Sudhanshu. Sudhanshu, how have you tailored the performance management process, the recruitment process, especially for remote working?
Yeah, so Mike, I think that's the order of the day. Performance management, recruitment, and training, all those things. I think with the way environment and the conditions are changing. So on recruitment, as I was telling during my time, that everything has gone remotely. So
Mhm.
we are not doing anything where anyone expects you to walk into office for the interview. Everything happens remotely, and there are artificial intelligence tools which ensure that when you are doing the interview or before interview, when you are taking any test, are there any unfair means that you are going to use, or are you trying to use? So the tools, there's small application which gets installed into your in the candidate's laptop, and it just captures the eye movement, the face movement, the slightest of the
Oh.
noise. And even if anyone changes windows, so for example, if you have to type an answer, right, and expected, let's say we are expecting that he or she will type about 100 words, and if we feel that the number of words is extremely low or extremely high, that means that there is something going on. For example, if I have to write 5 sentences and I just see that there are just two keystrokes, so that means he has copied and pasted from somewhere else, right?
Mm.
Or if I see that there's multiple keystrokes, that means that something has been pasted and then probably modified. So those kind of measures we are doing on the recruitment side. And once the recruitment is done, everything, the onboarding, the initial training, all those things have gone online, right? And the performance management, once employee comes in performance management, it has the shift which was that earlier, that every year there will be two appraisal discussions, mid-year and final year. All that has gone away. Now it's very regular. Almost every 15 days, any manager is supposed to have a cadence call with his team members, and every month they are supposed to document their reviews. So those are kind of interventions we are bringing in, which make sure that employees as well as managers, they are very well connected, and there are no so to say surprises at end of the year.
Mm. Okay. No, I think, yeah, I think some great processes, and especially around the recruitment side, right?
Yep.
How do you ensure that, you know, there is a fair recruitment even virtually
Exactly.
possible, right? So I think that those are
And
great points.
one point which Samit was also saying, that
Mm.
uh, with the recruitment going remote, we are not restricted to metros, right?
Mhm.
So earlier, when we used to conduct the campus events, and those were blended campus events where multiple colleges send their uh, students or the candidates. Now all that has gone away. Now we know that anyone can post their resume, and whenever we are coming out with the recruitment event, we get profiles of students who have just passed out from college or in last 1 year, as far places as Dindigul. So we had never thought that we will go to Dindigul for anyone to recruit, but now we are getting. And when we saw the resume from someone with the address of Dindigul, we just went back to Google Maps and see where this Dindigul is.
No, absolutely,
So
absolutely.
those are the kind of new changes or positive changes which are happening.
No, no, absolutely. I think one thing which virtual environment or the remote setup has helped is enhance the equity across all the stakeholders,
Exactly,
right?
exactly.
Whether it is the opportunity being presented, I think it is now equal for everyone, right? I think that's the
Yeah.
power of technology and digitalization. can't agree more with you. I would now want to maybe ask this question which Rohit has asked, and invite Mr. Lakshmi Narasimhan to maybe share his views, not just to this question which Rohit has asked, but in general, what are the additional skills which I think employees, I think you already touched on the RAT and other skills, but if you want to summarize, what are those key skills and which are required for employees to be successful? And what Rohit has asked in terms of growth of AR and VR technology in India, how mechanical students can take advantage from it.
Yeah. Thank you, Mayank. Actually, to be very frank with you, is the time to learn and be ready for the future. The next decade, as many of us have started moving from an analytical to digital skills, the platforms are getting changed, the learning is getting changed, newer ways. So people need to hone their digital skills. So they need to work on it. And the second one is the very important in be an engineering graduate or a commerce graduate or arts graduate or a CA, the problem solving skills. So individuals should have to work, feel that yes, I'm having a problem. I need to find out the solution. They should not get dejected that if there is a failure. They need to work continuously. They should ready to face the failures. Many times today, I find youngsters are not willing for that. Maybe because of the single child syndrome or something else, they are not ready to have the acceptance towards failures. So they need to understand that failures will come. We need to overcome that. Continuously working on that. So the problem solving skills are the second one. Then the third one is the lifelong learning, continuous learning. Things are getting evolved, changed. So they should have the mindset, the growth mindset, which makes them to learn continuously. Even we, all of us, have learned last 6 months the new, which in the engineering industry nobody would have thought about a work from home culture. Today we are adjusted to it. We start working. Nobody would have imagined 8 hours work, which goes beyond that. So they need to do it, and they also need to understand the in-depth understanding. Whatever they do it, either whatever the work, they need to understand the industry requirement, user requirement, avenues, what is available. That is important. And finally, today's situation, as rightly started by you, you have the work from home. There is a culture which is coming as work from home culture. There is work from office culture. Then work from anywhere. That's important. You need to have all this. You need to be ready for the blended this one on it. As we are all into an era of gig economy, this is must. Today, maybe in a short duration, employee will be working for 3-4 companies. What is that the companies are doing today in the urban company? I think it is promoting that culture. Definitely, we need to have the mindset of the entrepreneur, and that the people who are having that mindset definitely will have a bright career and bright future.
Great. That's a phenomenal summary to close the conversation and discussion, Mr. Lakshmi Narasimhan. I
Thank you.
think that's a good summary. The only thing I would like to add here is, or may not be add, but reinforce what Samit mentioned about, the being a generalist versus specialist, right? I think being that generalist has become very, very important. For example, in the technology world, right, just being a developer will not help you. Being a full stack developer will help you. You need to be jack of all trades and master of at least one. We call it as T model, right, where you have a breadth across multiple skills and elements and facets, but depth in one or two skills and facets, right? So that's the T which you will have to develop for yourself, right? That's how I would want to summarize in terms of the way we need to acquire skills to become successful for the future workplace, right? And with that, I would like to thank all my co-panelists for the great insights. I'm sure the students and the faculty who've been in the audience will get benefited. And I have personally got to learn a lot from each one of you. So I would like to thank the management of GIT for providing this opportunity. Otherwise, I would not have been able to, participate in a college in Jaipur, because I've mostly visited colleges in South India, but this technology has made it possible. Thank you.
Yes, same feeling here, Mayank.
Yeah. Thanks,
Because
man.
traveling from Delhi to Jaipur is a nightmare by road. Without without this platform, I don't think this would have happened.
Definitely, it is making us to learn, connect across the globe. Even we are having to attend some conferences virtually today across the globe. Thanks, definitely.
Thank you.
We would have loved to be there. In fact, understand visiting the Jaipur. Thank you.
Dr. Nidhi, you're talking on mute. We're not able to hear you.
Am I audible now?
Yeah,
Yeah.
now you are.
So I would definitely love to invite you all once the pandemic gets over, so you get the real platform and the real interaction with the students. Because we did a similar exercise in January where most of the speakers were from down south. So, and thank you. It was a very insightful and very nice session. And I have with me my co-host and the coordinator from Rajasthan Technical University, Dr. Deepak Bhatia. I invite you for a formal vote of thanks to the panelists. Over to you, sir.
Good afternoon, all. As all good things, good afternoon, all. As all good things come to end in life, so this session of HR, on behalf of Rajasthan Technical University, I take this opportunity to propose the vote of thanks Bricks India Limited, who have spared his valuable time from his very busy schedules and enlightened with his words of wisdom. Thank you, sir. We are assured you will continue your supports on us. I thank Mr. Sudhanshu Gupta, Senior Director, Talent Information Entity Data, for this wonderful talk on HR. I thank Mr. Maksud Shaikh. I thank Mr. Mayank Gupta for their unflinching support and coordination, and our heartfelt thank to faculties and participants for this active participation. At last but not least, I thanks to those who have directly and indirectly contributed to this session of HR-Conclave. With these warm words and a kind message, we move to the second session of today's HR-Conclave. Thank you all. Thank you, GIT.
Thank you all. Have a great time. Stay safe.
Thank you.
Stay
Thank
safe.
you,
Let's
Nitin.
pray for the people who are part of the COVID to come back safely and this country move ahead in the shortest span of time. Of course, it's recovering well. And thank you once again, ICT Academy, for the invitation. Thank you to GIT and Rajasthan Technical University, and thanks to my fellow panel members. Thank you.
Thank you all and I
Thank you, everyone. Have a good day. Bye bye.
Thank you.